What is up? Welcome, chat. I am so flipping excited. For those of you that are already familiar with my channel, welcome back. Extra love. And for those of you who have not been to my channel before, I'm Last Ketchum, and I am beyond stoked because I have an amazing panel for tonight's show. I cannot wait to introduce all of these people to you. And I'm super stoked to be talking about The Nice House on the Lake. Now, we will be covering issue 1 today. So it says book 1, but just so you know, that will just be our first issue. So y'all get to know a little taste of that and hopefully be as excited about it as I am. Also, guys, I am anxious / have Red Bull. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm going to start bringing in my guests. So first, I want to bring in the man, the myth, the legend, Collecting Plastic. If y'all do not know who this is, I do not know what rock you've been living under. And I will also have all of his information linked down below. Welcome.
Hey, what's up, guys? And my name is Jack. So when you hear anybody refer to Jack, they're talking about me. So they don't have to say Collecting Plastic.
We're not even talking to him at all. I'm actually just talking to a random Jack that's not on the stream. So if there's confusion, feel free to stay confused. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. All right. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Also, we have with us from Coffee and a Comic, Frank. Welcome, Frank.
Welcome.
Dude, I really wish I had like a clapping button, you know, like sound effects, maybe.
You'll get there. You'll get that soundboard together.
Hashtag future goals on YouTube. So for those not familiar with him, he does have his website listed there. He's actually where I've been buying all of my Nice House on the Lake comics. Great shipping, great packaging, and I definitely plan to be bragging on that more in a minute. All right, bringing in more of our panel. We have Q, also known as Sheena's East Coast bestie. Welcome, Q.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Welcome. And guys, if y'all have not checked her out, please go check her out on Instagram and YouTube. All of her information is going to be down below. She is a full bottle of freaking sunshine. So definitely catch a live of hers if you have not already. Thank you so much for coming, Q.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. All right. Next up, we have from MoonlitComics, Michelle. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with everyone on this panel, plus our final special guest you're about to introduce. This is going to be so much fun, and it's Friday, so I'm pumped.
Thank you, God. Man, I'm so glad it's Friday.
I totally forgot it was Friday.
Hey, Frank, it's Friday.
Yay.
Oh, my goodness.
But Michelle also, again, another, like, everybody here has got something epic they're doing. Seriously, check out the description to find out where they're at, what they're doing. Michelle has an amazing newer channel where she is discussing the Moon Knight. She discusses comics. And I mean, she really does a good job and has some amazing guests. So please check her out, guys. And last, but obviously got to be the best, we are getting in here Q's long distance bestie.
I was picking Cheetos out of my teeth in the back.
I mean, I've literally eaten Cheetos. I can't even talk Cheetos. Cheetos through alive before. Okay, so hashtag do you, girlfriend. But I have to.
Hi, honey.
Sheena, I have her Instagram listed in the description. If y'all don't know this woman, she is also that sunshine I was talking about with you. She is pure, loving, supportive energy. This woman is like the ultimate, I swear, comic community cheerleader. So definitely check her out. Everybody's got great Instagram, so much cool things going on. So please look into my panel, guys, if you are not familiar with them already. So
thank you for that. Oh, hi, my ladies.
I'm trying. I really am. I'm like, again, hashtag anxiety, but I'm like, I'm trying to love on y'all in my own sarcastic, obnoxious way. So feel the love, guys. It's there.
Thank you.
Also, Michelle is my lovely assistant / husband. I have my drink.
Okay.
It's a party.
Dang, he came fast, too.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, okay. I'm like, do I need to take a short break for my drink here? So I really quick kind of want to just like go around before like we really kind of pull anything up here. And I just want to hear what got y'all interested in reading this at all. Like what got you curious about it, why you decided to pick it up. So I'm just going to kind of go around, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, okay, or like earth shattering. Like I know for myself, for instance, I blame Jack collecting plastic 100% because he was talking about, I think it was your video on your favorite things in March. And
Yeah, I think so.
he brought up this book, and I was like, dang it, dude, that looks so cool. He sounds so excited. And then I was like, crud. And then, of course, I had to jump on Coffee and a Comic, bought it, and now I'm hooked. So I'm just blaming Jack.
Hashtag blame Jack.
Right?
Blame Jack, right?
I'm glad to blame Jack for this one.
There you go.
So it was very similar to me. I forget exactly who it was, but somebody was talking about it on YouTube, and I thought the cover looked really cool, the one with the skeletons.
Yes.
And I used to read a lot of DC Vertigo back in the day, and I actually don't know. Maybe you guys can enlighten me because I don't read a lot of modern comics. But is Black Label like the same as Vertigo? Did that take over that, or
Not quite. Black Label was the one that was kind of produced by DC to be more adult themed, but kind of like Vertigo was kind of doing, but it's a lot different in the way that they're actually structured.
All right, cool. You cut out a little bit at the end, but I got the general gist of it. But yeah, that's pretty much what got me into it. Somebody recommending it. Cover looked cool. Looked very different than anything I had been reading lately.
Yeah, it's freaking dope. So I get that. The art is this is definitely, if you're a cover whore, you're gonna like this. And if you even like kind of horror vibes, I think there's an appeal immediately. So agreed. What's up, Frank? What made you dig this book or get you interested?
For one, I got a ton of pre-orders from people that were requesting it, which obviously put it on my radar. But at the same time, Tinian has always been one of those modern day writers that I do follow a little bit more so. And knowing that he was coming out with a new series, I was interested in it. And yeah, didn't let down at all.
So you're already a fan of his writing in general.
Yeah. Tinian's always done some really good work and good writing, and so when this did start hitting the previews way back in the day, I was already kind of on board waiting for it to come out.
Frank, your mic is so mean.
Frank,
to you.
we can't hear
Dude,
you.
I hate that. I told you it was gonna do that crap. I gotta.
In and out. I mean, we're still catching your vibe, but I'm just like, your mic's out to get you. Okay.
Seriously, I'm sorry, guys.
He's just like, I'm going to cut off the end of your sentence.
Right?
Right. Oh, Frank. I mean, it sounded good at the end there. So maybe just if you talk close into it, we should be good. I don't know.
That's what I'm going to try to do.
Just
hopefully,
listen to Michelle, okay? She's the boss.
Should I just get up into this like this? And
Yeah,
we'll do
exactly.
a little ASMR.
All right.
Also, sip your coffee super close to your mic.
You like the coffee and my mic just chilling right here? What's going on? All right.
I hope people are doing
a little ASMR tonight. And
what is happening?
Is it
ASMR
really slow?
comic review.
All right. No, Sheena's East Coast. Why can't I read this? Y'all. Sheena's East Coast bestie Q. What
look at her.
in this book, girl?
Oh my God, you have to excuse me. Like the sun just appeared.
It is beautiful on you.
Yes. It's
Dude.
very.
So it looks like I'm on the West Coast now because it's like I'm on like the Sun Coast, the Gold Coast, or something.
I mean, y'all just put an angel glow. It's fine.
I just out of nowhere, just like. I like DC Black Label. To me, it's the closest thing that DC has to like indies. So I love horror comics. Like you said, I'm a sucker for a great cover. I was very late to this party, but I started seeing Nice House being floated around on different people's pages that I kind of like creep around and look at. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta get in on this. And unfortunately I was only able to get the digital copy. For like the first volume, except for the very last issue. But from the first page, it had me. That whole apocalyptic look had me. I'm not going to spoil it, but I love horror. I love great covers. DC Black Label is always top notch for me. So this was a shoo-in for like something I knew I would love.
Legit. Michelle.
I feel like
Ooh.
her lighting is like pouring in to me now because now I
Right.
Yes! Oh my God. Y'all are just like, this is your own version of spreading the love versus pure sunshine. Keep it up. It's fine.
we're both in the same time zone.
That's the type
you
of
know.
Right, you guys are
That's
cute.
That's you know what, Michelle, I forgot. We are. We're like
Yes.
2 states from each other. So yeah. We're both getting the same sun right now. Yeah.
Yes, and I never do live streams this early, so this is new for me. But anyway,
Shaking
I'm
it
kind of
up.
with you. Like I heard about this actually because one of my LCS shops, they were doing a signing with James Tynan, and it was for this book. So I was like, oh, okay, like let me look into it. It sounded great. I love horror. I love DC. And this seemed kind of more like an indie book to me. It still feels that way. And I just immediately, I was interested in the premise. And so, yeah, I got to, my copy of issue 1 is signed by James Tynan.
Nice.
And that's
Awesome.
Look at that flex,
Wow.
girl. Trying to make
Is
me
that when
feel
you went with Brandon, Michelle?
Yeah, Brandon at Comics
Yeah.
Games was with me because he's
Nice.
local. So it was a cool experience, and I wasn't expecting, like, this was not what I was expecting, and I absolutely love it. And so yeah, I'm glad I took a chance on it. Now maybe Frank knows, was this the first DC Black Label title that they dropped, or
No. Black Label goes back a handful of years now. Like one of the best ones I thought was actually Mr. Freeze. In the Batman world, but they also did a Harley Quinn one about 3 years ago. That was amazing.
You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of DC Horror because they recently launched the DC Horror line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is funny to me because this could have been put into the DC Horror.
Totally.
But yeah.
DC Horror seems to be a little more like, oh my God, graphic with like their horror. Yeah, to me, it's like very like, if you don't like gore, you won't like DC horror. It's very like,
it's not
face with it.
Like The Conjuring was, I mean, beautiful, but yeah.
Yeah, I think this gives a different vibe. It's almost more like psychological, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a thriller
type stuff.
Yeah, definitely more mysterious, like a thriller for sure.
Yeah, total thriller.
Okay, Sheena, what is up? Why did you get interested in this thing?
I'm basically agreeing with you guys, you know, like I think I saw it. I was just scrolling through, you know, my Comic Hub app, and I was like, oh, what is this? And it was just a cover, like, that really grabbed me. And then you see who wrote it, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's fucking go. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, now I really have to, because I've been straight ignoring the chat, and guys, you know I love y'all.
Yeah.
So really quick, I want to shout out our chat before we get going on this book, because we have some amazing people here.
Yeah.
We have Phil in the house.
Hi,
Phil. Early. We have the fresh Princess.
What up?
Princess. Amazing.
I went back. I usually don't watch our lives. Like once we do them, I don't watch them ever again because I don't like the way I sound. But I went back and watched the part with you and Fresh Princess doing those filters. I was dying.
I was so glad I actually popped in right at that time frame because that was hilarious.
I was like,
we've got Anna. What is up?
Hi.
Welcome. Working down.
And Jack is waving too. He's waving.
Anna is complimenting you, Jack.
Hey, what's up, Anna?
What's up? All right, we've got Nick. What is up, man?
Nick.
So glad you could join us. Bleeker.
Hi, Bleeker.
Man, okay, Bleeker, if you're still there, dude, you really need to play some guitar back on Spine Ticks, okay? Just saying, it's been too long. He played backstage one time, and I was just like, dude, why do you not do this all the time? Seriously.
He is the coolest. That's the homie.
Yeah. All right, Fett. What is up, my man? It was his birthday this Wednesday, by the way. So.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
On 420? That's dope.
I have a hype.
Oh, wow.
We got this. If you need me, just let me know. But happy birthday.
Look at Michelle. She's such a boss, dude. Yeah.
Some love.
Oh,
y'all are getting so much love up in here. I love this.
She is our queen. Bruce, baby, I ate it when she calls you.
What's up, Crazy Scottish? Glad you
Hello.
can join us.
That's a great
Phil
name.
Pop.
Right?
Hi.
What is up,
Phil's
my
Pops.
guy?
I follow them.
I love them. They are so fun. So fun. We got Miss So up in
Oh,
here.
hello,
So?
honey.
What is
Hi.
up? Let's see if I'm smart enough to scroll. Sweet Jesus.
guys have
Yo,
to
I'm
check
so
out-
good with computers. I want you to know. All right.
I'm with you. But
Hello.
Hello. What is
So
up?
has the best memes. Miss So's meme
Who?
game point.
I know. She,
So.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, that's true. That's really true. No, talk over me. Goodness, go. Y'all, I get like ADHD mode. Just do you. What is up? Howdy, Umpty. I'm glad I saw you message me, man. I haven't been able to check it yet, but I definitely will. We have Logic Blaster. What is up? I see a lot
I
of our
love that
Spy
name,
Tips
Logic
friends.
Blaster.
We have Prime in the house.
What up, brother?
Prime Mega.
Up. Oh my gosh, we got
Hello.
Dr. Brown. What is up, man?
What up?
Hello.
Uncanny
hello.
swag.
Hi, bestie.
Uncanny in the house.
What is up? Oh my gosh. Okay, I think we are officially caught up with the chat. We have some great people here, guys.
Phil's
So I'm really
Pops.
excited about our chat too. And I have to say, I love my Funko community. I love my collector community, but I also absolutely freaking adore the comic community. It is such a strong community of supportive people. Like, I really dig it. So I'm really excited to see a lot of them in the chat today with us. All right.
Can I just say it is kind of interesting to kind of break the barrier because I'm so deep into the comics and some of the collecting, but to actually pop into the pop, no pun intended, it's kind of weird. It's
Yeah.
cool.
We're popping all the things, Frank. All the things.
Yes, we totally are. I love this. We need to do more crossovers. Like we got to do
Right?
like a pop stream on like someone else at like a comic channel.
Well,
Yeah.
see, that's one of the things I love and I adore. And I don't know, Sith, if you're watching now or if you catch the replay, that's one thing I love about Sith Lordley, his wife, and their channel on Spine Ticks is they blend so many different areas of collecting, everywhere from cards, sports, people show pops, you know what I mean, comics, action figures, nostalgia, just stuff. So I mean, I love anything that helps us all come together and just build bigger communities. So
All in a
agreed.
24-hour live stream.
Right. All
Never
night.
What is up, Nadia?
Hello.
Some delicious bread for me.
Little monster.
She works in a bakery, and I'm so jealous.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Oh, I'm so glad I don't
Now
work
I'm
in a
hungry.
bakery.
I have to
Just
skip
bigger
out
than
of
I
the
am.
real quick.
Jesus.
Right. Like I'm jealous, but at the same time, that would probably be the death of me. So
Right, that part.
We got Mr. Moonlit up in
What
here.
up?
Oh, Mr.
What
Moonlit,
up?
what's going on, brother? Hopefully
That's
you're
my
doing
friend.
well. Is he downstairs?
well, he's about to drive home actually. Yeah.
Oh, drive safe.
Thanks, honey.
Agreed. I love Spine Ticks. All right. Let me pull up what we're talking about today. So
Okay.
I wanted to show off just, I mean, y'all know with the variant covers, they're so freaking many. So I literally just picked some of my favorites to show off because, I mean, it's like endless, right? Like I swear, I think I've seen all the variants and then I start looking online and I find even more cover variants. And they have some amazing artists working on this. I mean, seriously, like, do y'all have like a favorite cover? Which one did y'all purchase? You know, what did y'all go with on this one?
Cover A.
I only have the one that I got from the signing, which was the store exclusive from Third Eye Comics. It's basically the same cover as cover A, just like with the border and the logo on the back. I really wanted to get that one on the right with the girl swimming with the skull in the pool. And unfortunately, I did not get it, but that's probably my favorite for issue 1.
Nice.
I feel like
Yeah,
that
these
one,
three, I
Michelle,
think, are
was
mine.
everybody's favorite because that's the one I sold out of quick. And issue
That's dope.
A started like selling pretty fast too, but I mean that one went really fast.
Gone.
I mean, other than like the incentive variant, the 1 in 25, which is dope, which it's in a box over here somewhere. But the one that I got here, which is the second printing, actually, I really like because it has the distressed burnt corners from it. It mimics
I love that
the
look.
A,
Here,
but
hold
it's
up,
still
man. I wanna get you big up here. There you are.
Mm-hmm.
I love that look.
But it's just
Yeah.
that distressed corner look, so it's kind of peeking into the
Right.
book, and it's I
Mhm.
dig that. Kind of shows
Yeah, I gotta say
time
that's
going
my
by.
favorite too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a third one print that was also similar, that was even more distressed as well. if I remember.
Yeah, I like that concept. I think DC has done that for something else too, if I'm not mistaken, where the second, third, fourth printings are increasingly more distressed, and I think it's
Yeah.
pretty dope.
See, that's actually one
Nice.
reason I avoided buying that variant of the first print, was because I feel like I would have to own first, second, and third printing for the growing distress on those covers, because it feels like a set. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like I
Mhm.
can just have one and it feel right. But
Now
I
you're starting to
love
become
that.
a collector.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was like. She sounds like a collector.
It's
Okay.
a
Right.
slippery slope.
Well, look at behind her.
I feel like
Right.
so I think that was brilliant on their part, because a lot of times when it's a second or third print, it's like, well, crap, I just got this because I couldn't get the first one. These have
Mhm.
unique individual value because they did add these variations in how they look. You know what I mean? So I'm like, to me, that's brilliant, because then it has its own collectible nature that is totally separate from it being the same book, if that makes sense, or
Mhm.
same cover.
Right.
No doubt.
Now,
So
now
I ended
this-
up just getting the middle one that's pictured there on the slide, because one, I didn't want to have to buy like all three of the other variant. But some of these other ones were also sold out, because obviously they're freaking cool. But I also thought this was just amazing, mysterious, interesting. So I really I just dug this. I thought it was cool.
I think
Nice.
that's a really cool cover, that one you just put up last in the middle.
Yeah.
But maybe because I read the first issue, right? But how do you feel
Right.
about the artwork being a little bit of a spoiler there?
You know, if I remember right,
it
when they
is. It's
first
Walter.
released this, they
Yeah.
did mention that this was considered the spoiler cover.
Oh,
Marvel
did
does a lot better
Okay.
job about doing that. DC still kind of sucks, so they'll spoil it for the covers. But they did mention it lightly within certain things. But yeah, like Marvel does a really good job saying, "Hey, this is a spoiler cover." They won't show the photos of it.
Hello.
But yeah, they did. They totally spoiled it.
Yeah, I mean the left one does a little bit too, because you can tell that's Walter on top, so it
Right.
puts him in a sinister light.
Raging.
But I guess I
Raging.
might not have picked that up
Oh,
though, until after reading
hi.
it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
I
to
kinda-
me,
I
though,
wanna
I
go
feel like, as somebody that's really into art, etc., you don't necessarily know what it means at this point. You know, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
is this just some weird art? Is this
Sure.
like ghostly? Is this just like a hallucinations? Is, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I feel like there's
Right.
still a level of mystery, because it's not like you know why it looks like this. You know what I mean?
That's
Right.
Yeah, it could just
Like,
be
you
Okay.
don't
read
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't get it until you.
But it will
actually
suck
read
you
it
in.
And then close it,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you go, "Wow, I get
Right.
it now." Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yes.
like a hindsight. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't immediately, like, it doesn't really give away the story. It just makes you realize that there's something strange probably going on. You know?
Yeah, it's an
Right.
indication of something's not normal. You know what I mean? Whether, again, that's like a drug dream or hallucinations or supernatural or whatever, but you know something is abnormal. So to me, that
Mhm.
actually was a neater pull than it just being skeletons, even though I love the skull covers and I think those look dope. I love skeletons. But this added a whole other element to me that was like intriguing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to
Right.
go back and get this cover, because going forward, I got 2 covers for each issue because I loved it so much. So I feel like I
Okay.
need a second cover for issue 1. You know?
Get it.
I've
Yeah.
got a few extra.
There you
Ooh,
go.
all right.
Frank's like, I
What's
got
that?
you,
What's that?
fam. What's up?
You might get a surprise in your next shipment. That's all I'm saying.
Aww.
Aw, that's so
Frank the
sweet.
Tank, you're so sweet.
So everybody just kind of got the just right cover A. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have the graphic novel myself, so because I'm
Right.
more of a impatient type, and I didn't learn about it until 6 issues were out. So I
Okay.
kind of sat and read the whole graphic novel in one sitting, which was nice.
I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
how you jumped
And you know, it
in.
was probably better that way too. I don't know.
It
'Cause-
was. I read it on digital. It was better, like reading like the whole story.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I'm a sucker for my single issues. That's what I do. My coffee. and
I do.
comics,
I am
one
too, but this
single.
was a lot. I was
And-
like, fuck. Like,
Totally,
Yeah.
but this one issue,
I forget.
I remember ending it, and I
Right.
remember thinking, like, "Holy crap!" Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
so stoked. I'm so glad I had time to pause before I got into it for the next issue. for me, that like
Nice.
pause moment to think about is like, this is brilliant. So
Well, I think that it's up to issue 8 now, right? So I mean, I might pick up
Yeah.
issue 7 and 8 just because I don't want to wait like 6 months, right?
Yeah, and
Well,
now that
I
you're
only
caught up-
bought the first one just because one, I wanted to be sure I wanted to invest in more first, honestly.
Mhm.
Like I knew I was interested, but I'm like, how interested? But after I read
Right.
the first one, it was like the ultimate tease. I was like, I have comic book blue balls right now. I gotta go buy more. So I
I love
immediately had
that.
to get
Oh
on
my
like
God.
all the comics. I ordered the next 3.
We're gonna make sure that people in the community know about that.
Oh, that's
Hashtag
real.
comic blue ball.
That's
The
real,
comic book
okay?
blue ball.
But I literally have also purposely avoided reading further because I wanted to leave, like anybody that's not familiar with this, I wanted to be in that same newness, if that makes sense.
Oh,
So
Mhm.
I'm not spoiling it or going too far ahead for people that maybe we're introducing this to. So I want to keep that fresh vibe. But I have these books literally just waiting for me to open them. But this
Oh
book
my
did a really good job, I think, of setting up just enough. It's like edging. You know, we're right there, guys,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, love it.
And the
I
writing
think this
style, like the
series-
whole. Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. You go ahead, Jack.
Well, I feel like the writing style and the whole way it's introduced, it didn't read exactly like a traditional comic book to me. It read like
Mhm.
a screenplay or a storyboard.
Yeah.
or a
Yes.
movie,
Yeah.
which I
good
thought was really
point.
Yeah.
interesting.
That part, Jack.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah,
at you.
that is like a legit point. I agree with you. I actually had to read it, like we were talking about that before the live, Jack, where both of us were starting to put more dots together because we reread it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
they really are
Mhm.
laying a lot down in this first book, like a lot.
Right.
Is there
Yeah.
anything you guys didn't like? Because I have a couple of things I didn't like about the book, and it's more to do with I don't know if this is a new thing in comics or not, but some of the panels, usually, you know, comic books, they'll have like either a big splash page.
Oh,
The left side of the page is
Sorry,
one
Jack.
thing, and the
Uh-huh.
right side of the page is another, right? Some of these panels would go straight across, like both pages
Oh.
on the top, and then go back.
Right.
And since the artwork the way
Right.
it is, it took me a minute to get used to that. It kind of threw me
oh,
off
where
a
it would
little bit.
totally switch.
Yeah.
all
and it
right,
wouldn't
Jack, I'm
be
gonna have to
so
school you.
consistent.
You need to
Okay,
start
let me
reading
know.
more comics, man.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
No,
like,
no, no. I
there's
get
so
you,
many
and
things to
especially
do
if you,
in
if you
life.
don't read a ton. But yeah, a lot of books go across, and they kind of do different things. I mean, go read Sandman's like Overture,
Mhm.
and you're gonna be like, "What am I even doing here? Let me just go take some acid and like run away because it's
Yeah,
insane."
yeah.
So I think it does come, like, I get it. Most of the time, it is on the left and the right, and you follow. But there has been plenty out there that definitely break that type of mold.
Yeah, I want to say, man,
Mhm.
like it's been a good 10 years since I've really picked up anything new. So some of these new techniques, or maybe even the ones I was reading back then, didn't get so creative like these ones are.
Yeah.
Right.
I get what he's saying though, because I read it on digital, and that whole
Yeah.
splash page that he's talking about was like really difficult to read. Like I had to
Oh,
like
Mhm.
read it in like sections because it was
Well,
like just
Right.
yeah.
It's
But
almost
yeah.
like we're in like a police station and we're having to like add the pieces to this mystery.
That's true.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like there's so
Like a
many
pin
pieces
board.
and so many
Yeah.
points
Yeah.
to pull together. The
Right.
one thing that threw me off is when we get the emails. Because the first email, I honestly, for a second, thought it was a random ad thrown in there. And then I was like, wait, this is part of the story. I'm not even
Yeah.
kidding. I
Mhm.
legit thought it was going to be an ad. And then I was like, oh, just kidding. Because it just
100%.
I like that though. I felt like it added to like the authentic
Oh, it was more
realness
authentic
of it.
that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Right.
the email, this is the one she's talking about for the viewers that
Yeah.
are watching.
Yeah.
So you're right. This is the very first one that pops up, and it kind of shows. And reading comics like I do, yeah. Initially, I did think it was an ad. It took me a double take to actually go back and
Yes.
actually read it. And once I did read it, though, I loved it. I loved the
Mhm.
way that they brought this into it, and the communication timelines, and so many cool things that they did with that.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and
And then they show it in other books too.
Yeah.
as
Like,
we work
yeah.
kind of through this, the reason I went ahead and zoomed in, and this is on the cover A, but the reason I wanted to highlight this is the significance that we slowly realize go with these symbols across the top under the title before book
Yes.
one,
Right.
because these directly tie into our characters. So I'm like, I just thought that was kind of cool because we're highlighting book one, our first symbol, which I think becomes apparent as we read because they really are highlighting our first symbol character, right? So I just thought that was pretty interesting. And again, it's just a really intelligently written book. Like you can tell a lot of intentional choices were being made when they wrote this.
Yeah. Now, do you think the writer has the whole story already done and he's just going to go through it? Or do you think it's one of those ones where they're kind of just started with the story, but they don't really know how it's going to end?
Well, I think he knows, considering it's only
I
going to
think
be
he-
12 issues. I
Oh,
believe
okay, that's what it said.
12.
Right. It's already all done. So yeah, he knows that it's all.
Okay,
That's how
awesome.
they normally do when they say, okay, we're gonna do a 12-issue run, and pretty much gets all written first, and then started into the publication part of it. But
Except
there
for
has been
Sheena.
talk that they might break it out of the 12 and make it a 6.
Oh.
That's like small talk that I've been hearing, and it could just be wrong. But I would be stoked if they did.
One reason I think he knew is if you listen to the teaser that DC put out with the writer talking about this book or these series, issues, he talks about the concept of what made him write this and like the overall idea and concept. And it feels like he really did. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he is filling long details along the way. But as far as like having this general global idea that went into writing these books, it sounds like he really did have a full rounded concept going in. So
Okay,
I
cool.
think
I like
that's kind of like a good next question. What is your interpretation of this book? Because of course we know the writer, but with art, books, anything, we all kind of have our own views. So just really quick, I kind of want to go down and what do you think? What do you read in this? Like, what do you see as the purpose or meaning, even at this point in this book? What are we getting into? So what do you think, Frank?
I think he did a great. Well, the whole creative team on this thing,
Mm-hmm.
artists to the editors to even I always say Tinian. I don't know the proper thing. It's probably something out of it. But Tinian to me,
Sounds like
I
me.
think he did a brilliant job with this in what comics for the most part are. They're social commentary of today's day and age
Yes.
with a twist,
Mm-hmm.
and he did a brilliant job in this because if you read this, then you kind of take into perspective where we are right now in our society, pandemic and all these other weird apocalyptic things going on and like everything that's happening. He like highlighted that and he did such a good job, especially talked about that email and then like the Twitter threads and like we're all like, I mean, who here doesn't remember when the first thing of this whole pandemic started? We were all glued to the TV and our phones watching the streams of like what's next, like oh my
Yeah.
gosh, so many people just died over here, this is what, and he did that in this book. So I think it's just a highlight current events just in a different switch. And can I just say that the very first line essentially in this book was the character talking about like he asked me this question, how do
Mm-hmm.
you think the world is going to end? How many here haven't asked that question in a group setting at a
Mm-hmm.
bar or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've all questioned that. Like we've all had that deep philosophical conversation while we're drunk, thinking we know everything. And he did such a great job of laying that out and putting it out there. I think it was beautiful. Just today's social commentary, and he spoke to the people, and that's why I think it got so much acclaim because we can all relate to this situation of sorts. Obviously,
Agreed. What do you think,
Hopefully.
Q?
I love the pacing of it. I love how, like Frank said, they dropped it into like super current events. Even the lady walking up at the beginning is wearing like the mask, and then they do the
Yes.
gun temperature thing to her forehead, and everybody kind of remembers that. That was like psychological trauma. Every time you walked into a restaurant, somebody pointing something at your head. So I love the pacing of it. I love like the current events because it added, like Frank was saying, to the static electricity, the thrill of like what's going to happen next as I flip this page. But I honestly don't know. I really don't know if the world is really over. I mean, I feel like he's setting it up that way, but there's still so many clues that maybe this is all just some kind of experiment, some kind of like psychological experiment. I'm not discounting that. I'm really not.
the TV show
But
Lost.
yeah, like maybe they're just like in some kind of like dome or like bubble, and this is all like an experiment that like some kind of sick experiment happens. Like it's happened before, like in real life events. Like people have just been like watched and studied, like tripped out on drugs and stuff. So I don't know. I'm hoping for a better twist ending than what they're setting it up to be, which is the obvious ending that the world has just been torn away and they're in some kind of like enclave, like some kind of like enclosure. I don't know. I'm hoping for a better twist ending. So that's my take.
Nice.
My honey.
Michelle.
So I agree with what both Frank and Q said. I mean, I'm hoping for a better twist too, like you, Q. But the fun thing is that there could be so many different outcomes, right? Like there could really be anything going on. And like what Frank said, it's very relatable. And I love the inclusion of the emails and the social media and the whole end of the world premise, because that's something that we all think about. And it puts us, like, we can be any one of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the characters that Tiny Onion, whatever you want to call them, that he's included are all, they kind of just range and span across so many different professions and types of people. And I mean, we could all imagine ourselves being at some lake house with friends we haven't seen in a while, for some beautiful weekend getaway. And it's like that too good to be true type of thing.
Yeah.
But at the end, we're left wondering, like, is it really too good to be true, or is this their saving grace? We don't know. And I think it was just really well done. And anyone that reads this can relate to it and kind of put themselves in the story. And I just think it's really well done. And I love the artwork. I love that the artwork is a little more abstract. It's not so, clean and not
Clean,
what we're used to seeing, in a lot of titles. And I just immediately upon reading issue 1, I was all in. And yeah, it's going to be really hard not to like talk about what happens after
It is. It's so hard.
That's why I didn't bring further. I knew. I was like, no, I'm stopping.
It's so hard. I don't know how you stopped at issue 1. Like, I tore through that whole thing.
Well, one, it helps that I really technically have no time, really. So if I'm doing anything other than being busy, I'm just procrastinating, which I just made Frank entertain me this week, But anyway, just saying it was hard. But
that's why you got to just adapt the coffee and a comic morning. You get your coffee, you get your comic, 20 minutes in the morning, and boom, you knock it out.
Done. I know, but I really didn't want to wait because, like I said, I wanted it to just be this authentic rawness of not knowing what's next. You know what I mean? Because that was part of what I enjoyed about reading the first issue, and I wanted to hold on to that for this live of that like mystery of next steps.
I'm glad that you did that.
What did you think? Like, what do you think was kind of the overall big picture of this? What did you get out of that?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't hear that part. I was like, Jack's not talking. What happened? No, I just felt like he was just trying to show us what he's capable of doing with, the time, the space, the opportunity, how he can write and show how well a comic can be. You can get a lot out of a comic. Like, a lot of people don't think that reading comics, you can get as much as you would in a novel, but this right here shows you that you can, and it's kind of wordy for a comic, but it's good. It's not like, fuck, you got bored halfway into reading all this information. Like, it was just like, nah, like it was reading like a movie, or it was reading like something you would want to be sucked into. So I just thought that's what he was trying to do. Like, just show us what he's capable of doing and what comics are capable of doing to people, So that's it.
What a beautiful freaking answer, Sheena. Sweet genius. I love that answer.
What?
Oh, right. I mean, really, though, this doesn't feel like you're just old school, chilling, having a fun comic read. You know what I mean? Which, mind you, comics span all kinds of different realities. It's kind of like where I feel about anime that not everyone's into. I'm like, you just got to find the right one. You know? But it's a lot of information. It's well written. It's intelligently written. And there are pieces that almost rereading this one, I feel like is necessary to get all the knowledge you need because there's a lot, but again, I feel like this could be a TV show easy, and I'd watch that.
Easier watching it, you don't even have to have the TV show. You just read this and
right?
It's there, you
I
know,
want it to
like,
be
yeah,
adapted. I want to read it and then watch it. I'm
right.
all about it. Like, make this
That's
real.
dope.
Let me watch it, not in my mind and on the book.
Now, I'm not a
Jack, what is
speculator
up?
by any means,
cinematic.
but I think this has been possibly propositioned to go down the room of Netflix or Hulu.
I hope so.
I think, but I'm
I
not
love
a
it.
speculator. So
I
And I
really
think
hope
Jack
so.
That's
had
my
said
favorite.
that it reads almost like a screenplay, you know, and then with the art and storytelling, it's very cinematic. You could totally see this in a movie. But just the way the comic is, it makes you feel immersed in the story like you're in a movie. So it's just really well done. Yeah.
No, for
I
sure.
would love
What's
to
up,
see it on the
414?
screen.
Yeah, no, I agree. What's up, Jack? What did you think?
Yeah, so for me, I haven't really
Go, Jack,
come to the
go.
conclusion of like what the theme is or what I think he's trying to convey, because I don't know. I feel like I need to like read the whole thing, right? Because I feel like it's a little like too obvious what I think is going on right now. Like I don't want to spoil like with my theories of what I think is going on, like the later
Yeah.
books. But
Right.
like what you guys touched upon, I don't know if the graphic novel just doesn't have any ads, because I never thought any of it looked like ads, and it did kind of make it like when he does put the emails and stuff. The way he breaks it up, the way he breaks up the text, it was a clever way of making it seem modern without making it too like wordy, I guess, right? Like to me it was still an easy read. And yeah, like you say, it brings in a lot of these modern things in there without it being like too on the nose, right? Like too I don't know what the right word is, but it didn't take me out of the story going, oh, okay, he's just trying to be like young and hip or whatever. It kind of
Yeah.
made sense, and that people talked the way that people actually talk. But as far as a theme, yeah, I haven't really come to the conclusion of that yet. But also, like you said, how it did remind me of the way I felt when the pandemic first hit. Like how intense that feeling was, going like, oh my God, this is starting to feel a little bit more real. Like every week that goes by, this is starting to feel like a more global event. And like seems like we're in deep trouble. And 3 years later, we're still not out of it. So our fears are, I guess, kind of real. But yeah, as far as an overall theme, I haven't figured it out yet, to be honest.
Yeah. No, and I honestly think that's a really valid response too, because I feel like, because again, I intentionally stopped after the first one. There's a path that seems potentially obvious, but they've also done this in a way where I'm like, I feel like they could do all kinds of weird, quirky, twisty things if they choose to. And that's part of the interest and draw as well, is even though you can draw conclusions, it's like, but will I be correct? Because there's obviously some intelligence in how this is written. And you're like, they can go wherever they want with this. So I think that is cool and keeps you driven to keep going versus like, I already know what's going to happen. Who cares, if that makes sense.
And I think he is intentionally trying to get you to think one way, right? To think like whoever Walter is, I think he's intentionally trying to make you come to a certain conclusion, and that these people are in a certain place too. But if you kind of look some of this stuff over, some of it doesn't seem consistent to what the state they're supposed to be in, right? Like they're supposed to be in a very flat state, but this is like surrounded by mountains. Right?
Oh yeah.
So who knows what's really going on here? And that, yeah, that's kind of all I'll say about that. But I feel like he's definitely trying to misdirect you a little bit.
Oh, 100%.
I think that's a valid
the
point, because the location, wasn't it Wisconsin? Am I like correct? Yes.
Yeah.
That area where he's saying they would be does not look like that. So that is valid in like, is that trying to have this twist, or was it just this is imaginary Wisconsin and it doesn't matter, if that makes sense? Right. So
that's what DC Wisconsin looks like.
Like for those of you that have read other Tinian books, like does he do that? Is he like a twist ending kind of type of dude?
I mean, I wouldn't say he's like that. Who was that?
Shyamalan?
Yeah, he's not like Shyamalan really, but he does. But he plays with the psychology of what he writes a lot,
right?
And
like
he
Department of Truth.
He definitely does misdirect, and he does like kind of go in circles on some things, and so you have to pay attention, because a lot of the stuff that he writes in, you will overlook. And I think maybe because like you mentioned the advertisement thing, you didn't think it was because you're reading a graphic novel, and that makes sense because there isn't any real advertisement in graphic novels. But those kind of things, if you're just a regular comic book reader, you know that like ads pop up every other page, especially
Yeah.
with Marvel
Mhm.
books. And so that's why you can get kind of thrown out of your loop. And maybe he did that on purpose to make you think it was an ad, because I think everything Tinian did with this book was on purpose, and it's
Yeah.
there to misdirect, to confuse you, to make you think
Mhm.
more. Because even the ending of this book, like the first one, was one of those situations where it was like, yeah, I can go a million different ways, but we see how they deal with the character development, especially around a single one. And then he puts in the codex on the front cover that we already saw, and like, oh, each symbol is each character, and it looks like we're going to get
Mhm.
a new character for every book and get
Yeah.
all their story before we know the entire truth. So I
Yeah.
think that's some of the elements to it that he
And
loves
I
to play
think-
with.
Hi,
Very mental
Dave.
writer.
Hi, Dave.
Dave, yeah, what's going on, brother?
What up, Dave?
I did want to say
for-
one thing. I
Oh, go
heard it was actually a shout out to John's Comics with Kids. It was a review he did on this a while back. He pointed out that the symbols on the front, like on book 1, the first symbol is highlighted, and on each
Yes.
Mhm.
subsequent issue,
Yeah.
the color, the yellow, goes through the symbols. So
Mhm.
on this
Yeah.
one, that first symbol is the one we get the introduction to in the beginning of the story, which I think is the artist. Although
Mhm.
I do like how we get a small introduction to each of the characters in a really nice way, like in a seamless way, like they're all arriving at this house and getting settled in and checking it out. And I just love how it pops up with the description and their symbol, but it seems like there's a theme for each issue. It focuses
Mhm.
more on one character than the other. So
Right.
I thought that was really cool. I would have never noticed that the color would change on the cover for each. So
Yeah, that's
I
why
saw
I
that in the
added
first
just
one, but
this specifically
Yeah.
because I was like, that is fascinating in itself. Because
Mhm.
I also like that he's big on the small details and the general details, because
Yeah.
obviously
Mhm.
these switches are evolving a bigger picture for anybody reading this, but in a more like easy to bite off kind of way, if that makes sense. Lets it
no,
slowly
he's
build. 'Cause there's
definitely
a lot
about
of
the
information.
all the little details. He definitely gets into too, and
So
to
now
kind
I
of
do
echo
notice.
what I was gonna say,
Sorry, go ahead.
to echo what Michelle was saying about like the character development of the books and how seamless it is. I love it because it's almost as if each book, when they do more character development, it's coming from the perspective of that character. Like in this one, it's the
Mhm.
artist,
Yeah.
and it's almost like the artist's view of like these other characters. Just like we come into this like YouTube channel, we're introducing each other, and from my perspective, I'm seeing you guys in a certain light. The next book is now going to be Michelle and how she sees us all in a different light, and it's
Yeah.
Mhm.
great how they merge that. So.
and
Now
I
I do
love it
notice
all
there's only
ties
10
back
symbols.
to Walter.
Right, there's 12 books total, right? And there's only 10 symbols here.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if those last 2 issues are just going to be completely bonkers, right?
Huh.
Oh, they're going to be 100%.
That would be awesome.
Right.
It's pretty
All
exciting. Now,
chaos.
I have to say, one of the things that I really like this with our writer here is one, I agree with what everybody's saying here. But I enjoy that he did touch on modern reality for how we feel as people, as a society. You know what I mean? This level of connection,
Mhm.
disconnect. And I really also enjoy that these people are stuck, our characters, in this position to just say, screw the world and personal pleasure, or do I fight to create maybe hope or help, or can I do something for something beyond myself and even the place that I am? So it really puts them in that normal human dilemma, if that makes sense, of
Mhm.
greater good and society, or for me. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
Walter really gives them that choice of like, hey, I got all the pleasures you want, everything that you could have, everything
Yeah.
that you need. Let's have some fun. And I really, really enjoyed that, where again, it's just so very human, if that makes sense. Relatable.
Mhm.
Love it. All right, y'all. So these are opening scenes, which tell me kind of y'all's, thoughts on where we are. Because obviously this is we're getting kind of a glimpse into the future and in the past at this
Mhm.
point. And again, we're highlighting our first character, the artist. So Frank, what are kind of your thoughts at this point?
My first initial thought at this was confusion.
Uh-huh.
And it was because they did the whole like the trope of you start in the future and then you go to the past to tell the story. And that first page was all about there's something in the future. And I've looked at this page multiple times. Every time I read a new book, I go back to this and I'm looking at it and like, okay, look at the symbol in the background that she's sitting in front of. Like, look at some of the other things going on and what's happened to her at this point, because this is a tie to the future. And then we dive so much into the past, we almost forget about this page.
Exactly.
We've seen the future. We know what's about to come, but we always forget it because we get so enveloped in the rest of the drama and the rest of the story. And then when he starts, I love the whole sequence here when they're talking about like, you know, what are you going to do? Like, how would you think that the world is going to end? And them just chilling in a bar, talking casually. And I love the dialogue. I love, this is real speak. This is like, I can hear me and some friends just chilling at a place talking exactly this way. And that's what really drew me into this. And the artwork itself, it's not like this realistic stuff. I love the impressionism that they did to kind of solidify it. But if you check out like what we look at in the past, like look at the like when they're in the bar reading, look at the art and how it is. It's not like it's wishy-washy, but it's very impressionist. But now look at the future.
Like they've been drinking. Yeah.
And the future looks more detailed. And so it's like, so if you go through the rest of the book, you can kind of
like a memory, huh? Right.
Yeah. Dude, it's nuts.
Like it's kind of foggy, like a memory.
Well, it almost seems almost like the way things look in dreams too, where it's kind of like it's not exactly 100% focused. It can go from kind of scene to scene, kind of abruptly a little bit. It did remind me of Dream Logic a little bit.
Yeah. I like that dream logic. That definitely makes sense the way they bounce. I really like, Frank, where you talk about like how the dialogue is so human, relatable, because that's something I really like about this writer. He does a good job with that. Is even if he's like, hey, how do you think the world will end? Sorry if that's too weird. And she was like, whatever, it's freaking fine. You know what I mean? Like just the way, and I know I'm not saying it correctly, but just the banter, it's fun, it's quirky, it's just like, it flows like you would again if you were just hanging out, like you said. This makes sense as bar banter or out banter, you know, but it also is flirtatious. And I think that's something that this character, I feel, does well with everyone he's connected to, is there's a level of almost lust, love, and intimacy and how he deeply wants to connect with people. You know what I mean? Because even though we're just looking at this first character, I feel like Walter automatically has like a love language, the way he deals with people, even if it's not for a romantic relationship. So I feel like we're already getting a taste of this almost romance he has with these people that he is
with these people, right?
You know,
I think intimate is the right word, right? Like, because I don't know if I would generally ask maybe somebody I just met at the bar how I think the world would end, but I would definitely ask my best friend, right? Or if it's just one-on-one, like, or I might even bring up something like, dude, I had this crazy nightmare, which I would tell my best friend, but I wouldn't necessarily tell a stranger, just because of that intimate connection that you have, right? And they're not gonna think I'm weird.
That's interesting because when I thought of that, and it was like a sequence of like, okay, if I was to be in a bar, because I don't really, hit on girls or anything, but I'm like, dude, that'd be a dope line to open up with. Like, sit down, buy them a drink, be like, hey, so how do you think the world's gonna end? Cheesy as crap, but like, that's why I'm single. I'm just saying. But yeah, I don't know. I get a little bit too deep, maybe.
Unless you want a girl that likes it deep, then it fits.
Right.
Did I say? No, but I do think that's one of those things. But also, though, we don't get the feeling that we know that this isn't a first encounter, because in the first page, even though we're in the future, she is reminiscing on the past. She's talking about how things were and the blur of just going out, hanging out with different people flirting with you, caring, not caring, and her just kind of existing in these spaces, and obviously being an object of attention too, is how she talks about it. And he is there, and he is a presence for a while before he finally chooses the right moment to approach her. So he has been observing her for a while, you know what I mean? So she is selected over time in a community that obviously Walter is familiar with. So I think this was a very careful selection process and not just like random stranger, you know what I mean? Logic, worst opening line ever. What do you
Yeah, no,
think?
I think coming from me, that might scare a girl. She'll be like, oh
Right?
my God.
Right. I'd be like,
Nuts. What do you mean my world's ending?
right,
Like,
I'd be
trying
like,
to kill me later? What's happening?
Yeah.
But for some reason, Walter has this like magnetic personality that
mm-hmm.
everybody feels special, makes everybody feel like he's their best friend, makes everybody trust
Right.
him and be intrigued by him. And he
Michelle.
has this like special quality.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what I was
that he
saying. I
cares.
feel like he's
That
almost
part.
romancing people. Like he's got this quality that's drawing in everybody, man, woman, Sasquatch, whatever. There's this appeal, there's this romance, there's something that he draws people and he invests. It's very intimate in how he wants to talk and know, because he intimately wants to know your thoughts. It's not just like, oh, how are you doing today? Fine. He wants
Right.
layers behind that, and people get seen by Walter. So it makes people feel good. I think it's human nature to want to be seen and accepted in your raw reality. And I think he offers that to people. So
Yeah.
Q, what was your thoughts on the beginning of this?
Oh my goodness, you guys touched on like so much stuff already.
Right.
But just doubling back to what you say, if you've ever been to New York in a bar, it is not uncommon for somebody to come up and ask you, how do you think the world is going to end? New York is a very wild kind of place, so you can definitely get that on like any like random like weekend. So that made sense to me. Going back to like Walter and his like charismatic like personality, I mean, thinking on the fact that he's probably like an extraterrestrial or interdimensional being, like it's probably some I want to think deeper into it. So I want to think like he has like some kind of like programming about him, like some kind of like, I don't know, pheromone or some kind of like something that makes humans drawn to him on purpose, because his whole purpose is that he's trying to like herd a couple people out, you know? So I think that he definitely has like something in him on purpose that is drawing people to him, and then he can study them up close, you know, like a praying mantis kind of sort of thing. But like the opening scenes, I love mayhem. And I love the art in this, and I love the symbology. The first panel of any comic is always like the most important panel, because it's like the first sentence in like a book. It's like, is this enough to make me keep going? And like just her with like hellfire raining down behind her and the one patch over the eye, and it's like, and it starts in the middle of the story. I think you guys are saying this the end, but I feel like this is probably like a middle piece of the story that we're looking at. And then we're flashing back. So I think that I love when things start in the middle of like a story, because that always like sinks me in even further. So I don't know. I love the opening. I love, again, the coloring. I love how the symbols, and then I'm trying not to say too much, because reading ahead and then thinking back to these opening scenes is like so important, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So
you appreciate it more. Right?
Well,
yeah, you do.
I love that you pointed out the things that you did. Like, one, I agree this isn't totally the end, because again, I haven't read forward, but I guess to me, it's future. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I see it. Whether it's the final end game, somewhere in the middle, I just know we're in the future at this point. But I also love the symbolism towards, you know, like true end, death, final stages of life, because even the way they did the bandage over her eye, it very much is skeletal. Like, it intentionally to me looks like a skeleton. Like, that I feel was a very intentional choice, and I enjoy that, because it's not just a covered eye. You know what I mean? There's some symbolism I feel like is there as well.
True.
And I love, and I think it is fascinating that you like where you talk about him having some type of special power or something that draws people, because to me, I almost see it as almost like the opposite. And I don't think that he necessarily attracts the people. I think that certain people attract him, you know, and then he is, something about him is a very, like, almost like I said, romantic, intimate, deep, knowing thing, which may be just normal for his people. Maybe it's not. I feel like something's unique about Walter, which is why I feel like he has this separate group of people, because I don't think it is normal for his race to care about human beings based on even the first book. I think they set it up where there's this disconnect and it's just like, screw the human race. But there's something different about him where he has found something within certain people that he likes, that he loves, that he is invested in. And I think he spent a lot of time observing because he only found, I mean, technically a very small group of people over many years. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I feel like if he just drew people in general, it could have been tons of people. But I think it was a very slow and selective process, you know?
Yeah.
I'm trying not to say too much.
No, you're good. Like I said, my perspective is based on one book.
Right.
But I also like go into the context of like who this guy is, and I think we can all agree that we know somebody in our own personal lives that has that magnetic personality. Like we just get drawn to for whatever reason, and so it's there. And so maybe that's why whatever species, race that he is part of, they know that about this dude already in his, so that he was a perfect candidate to come down and take place in what they were going to do. And then, yeah, you're right. I think the intimacy came from those finding him, and there's something more connected to that. Because at the end, not to give it away really, but he is like, I love all of you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. To me, there's almost like this romantic nature to it, even if it's not sexual. There is this romance, if that makes sense. There is a deep intimacy. It's really
touching on what you guys are saying, like pretty much from the get-go, the feeling that I got was that this is Walter's job, almost like a zookeeper, and these are the animals that he kind of likes the most.
His favorite pets.
Yeah, and to me, it seems like he almost seems like a salary man, and this is like a job to him, except for these little moments where he connects with, like, say, the same way a zookeeper would connect with an animal, and he rubs behind his ears or whatever, because this is my favorite animal. And then all of a sudden the zoo is closing down, and they're going to euthanize all these animals or whatever. And the zookeeper's like, dude, I got to save these. I got to save my favorite ones. So that's kind of like the immediate feeling that I got, that this guy's part of a big, I don't know, intergalactic or otherworldly or other dimensionally, whatever you want to call it, like not of this earth, corporation or business. And these are the subjects he liked the most, and to me it's like his pet project. In like, that's the way I feel. And also it's very interesting what you said about, because I didn't notice, you Frank, you said that this first panel, the art style is different, and it's definitely, I didn't pick up on that. And also that symbol behind her looks like the crosshair symbol. Who I think was that for? Was there one? Who was the character with the crosshairs?
I mean, it's the last one, but the problem with that is not because it has a circle in the middle of it, so it's not a symbol we've actually recognized.
That's right.
Maybe that's why there's 12 books and only 10 symbols right now, because this one, this frame might actually come up in like maybe book 10 or 11, and then because Q's right, this isn't the end. This is like probably 3/4 through the story, and she's like now at this point of like, whatever. Or maybe it is. Maybe this is the exact end. She just killed the bad guy. She's chilling on the steps on her own. Like, oh my gosh, I'm the last one to survive. And this is,
all of a sudden, book 11 might have this symbol there, right along the other ones. Who knows?
I think that's
it looks like two symbols that either connect or that have been split. Like one symbol that's been split, or two that connect. So it's very interesting. And like, if I wouldn't have had to go back and reread issue 1, which I'm glad I did, so thank you, Lass. But if I didn't do that, and Frank wouldn't have pointed out that we open up this entire story in the middle or 3/4 of the way through, when shit has hit the fan, like you easily forget, even just by reading this first issue, what we were introduced to on the first page, because very quickly we're thrown into this like beautiful lake house type of thing.
That's a lore.
You forget the foreshadowing that happens. And also with Jack talking about the zoo and stuff, it makes me think of Noah's Ark, right? Like he specifically like picked like one of each different type of person, like the best example of each type of person that he has met, to put on this ark or in this spaceship or in this, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so it's really trippy and it's really deep. It's interesting. And
this is why I love so many people talking about it, because the thing is, I feel all of this ties and makes sense, because Jack, I also agree with you, because that's why I say it's not like a sexual love. It's not something, but there is some type of love and favoritism that these people have drawn him to. You know what I mean? Like for some reason, there is this investment, whether that be like Noah's Ark style of like, these are the favorites to restart life, or which I don't think that's really the point of that. He just wants them to live a good life until, you know, they're done and then the race is done, you know, human race. But I can definitely see the vibes of, okay, I'm just going to get my play toys because these are my favorites. You know, but like I said, there is like still this kind of like odd loving connection where, like I said, for some reason, these are their favorites for him, you know?
Although he is making it uneasy for them though. Because it is a weird like situation. He's still scared the crap out of them, you know.
Oh, for sure. But you can tell he
done it in a
didn't
different
want
way.
to scare them. He was trying to coddle them. But then there's this reality of, okay, ripping off the Band-Aid, guys, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
it could even be
I'll
some
kill
kind of
you.
context of like, hey, I'm your creator. I'm, let's say, God, for example, and I'm the one that created your entire species. I'm going to wipe them all out except for you because I do care about you guys the most. And that internal love that you would assume like a God or a father or a mother figure would have for their creation or kids, that's that type of love that he's showing to these people.
Tough love.
Yeah, tough love. Like,
Also,
you're, you know,
it
I might
speaks
smack
to
you once in a while, and
connection.
you know.
Like if everybody that was invited wasn't so connected and so drawn to Walter, no way you'd agree to a week-long getaway with people that you barely know. But they all have this connection through Walter, which could be like a religion, like Frank said, like God. I mean, everybody has this really strong bond and connection with this guy. So they're all going to blindly follow him and agree to go, even though they don't know who's going to be there. You know, because I think in the email, it says I'm keeping the guest list secret. So like, who would do that? Like without even knowing he's going to be there, I'd be like, hell no. You better tell me who I'm going to spend a week with, you know, but that just speaks to this like otherworldly like connection these people have with Walter. It's
obviously a powerful connection.
Yeah.
You know, but I also think even just within this first issue, he speaks to part of it was because he had to figure out a way to justify this to his own species, people, you know, whatever you want to call what Walter is. And this was his way of trying to keep it an isolated bubble, was the secrecy. But I do get it. If someone's like, I'm not telling you who's going, I definitely would be like, man, you better have some strong magnetism and appeal for me to be like, oh yeah, it's fine. I don't need to know. You know what I mean? So I agree. This really speaks to the relationships they have with him individually to be open to who knows who's going to be there.
So maybe I'm weird,
but very like her character is very special because she doesn't have the same like bond with Walter as the other ones because she hadn't talked to him in 2 years. It was very much like a casual, like flirty kind of thing. Yeah. And they kind of selected her at the very last second. She was like the replacement artist. Again, I'm trying not to say too much. And she's the one who kind of like calls him out. Like she's the one who like points at him and goes, you did this. So like, and she's the very first character that we're introduced to in this apocalyptic setting in the first POV that we get. So I think her character isn't as close and as bonded with Walter as the other ones are. Like for some reason, like her character is kind of like set slightly apart. From
but don't you think
ones.
sometimes too, like with certain friends, I know some of my really close ones, I can go like there's been times where I go a couple of years without really seeing them or talking to them, and then when I finally do again, it's like no time has gone by at all. Like especially when the pandemic started. And we just didn't party as much or hang out as much or you know, see each other at the bar. There's some people that I hadn't seen in like 2.5 years. And then when we finally saw each other again, it's like, okay, the only thing is different is both of our hair is a little longer, but everything else is pretty much the same thing.
Oh, I can relate 100%. I just had that this weekend. I saw people that I haven't seen in 15 years.
Much,
No, yeah, no, I get what you're saying too.
I feel like with her, I don't see her potential. Now, again, I've only read issue 1, so I have a lovely bliss of ignorance moving forward. But even in this issue, he mentions the painter, like is specifically mentioned. And I'm wondering if she was actually a replacement or if the painter was one of the people that didn't end up coming that was supposed to. and she was like a bonus person within that reality. You know what I mean? Like he had the artist and the painter. But again, I don't know. I haven't read forward,
You
know,
have
but
to
that
read
to me was
more.
interesting.
Right.
I know we should have
You
made
have
last
to
read the whole thing.
But I'm
Well, I
just
mean-
saying, like I said, because for people that have only read the first issue like me, because when he's connecting all these characters as we keep looking at this book, that was one of the connecting points where that person wasn't even there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like maybe that was, you know, them.
And I think
Anyway, I do think with her though, it was a different type of relationship than the others, because it's almost like he chose her to help him make decisions. You know what I mean? And that's where she's finally like, oh my God, you finally chose. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's like she was literally a part of him planning, his people planning, you know, and little did she know, it's almost like she's an accomplice. So she
I have a feeling like she had a little bit
Rebirth
more of a
of this
connection with
face.
Walter than is let on because of certain elements about their relationship. But I think she is also still one of the slight outcasts within the group.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, to kind of go in relation to what Michelle was talking about, going to a lake house. I mean, that's where a lot of people I think are different, because if someone came to me, like somebody that I kind of only knew, and they're like, hey, dude, we got this lake house and look at this photo here of the lake house. And like, you want to go there for a week? Yeah. I don't even know who's there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just that dude. Like, I'm ready to
we are different. We are so different.
Yeah, I've done that before, actually.
Michelle, no, we are different. Michelle needs to know every fucking thing. Like,
I don't want to be comfortable. Like, I don't want to stay a week with people. Like, I just want to know who's going to be there. Like,
Well, see, I just know for me, like, if I get there and there's like 8 other people and I'm just not getting along with them, well, cool. That's a big enough house. I can just disappear into the woods and hang out by myself. And,
so you
chill.
think,
Like, this is
okay,
it.
but what if you're stuck?
See, me
True.
as an introvert, I just need one person in the room. If I have enough of a connection where I can like zone in on them, have fun, have a blast, I don't care who else is there. I could go out to some place right now, and if I know one person there even working, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have a blast. I'm going to be talking. But if I'm not comfortable with anybody, there's no point. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm one of those people that if my Walter relationship was cool enough, that would be enough to get me there. But it would really have to be a good connection, because if it was only so, there's no way I would go.
Yes, and that's exactly what we were saying. Like, the connection with Walter for each of these individuals was so strong that it was okay. Like, it was like, yeah, no doubt, I'll be there. But then how bummed would you be, or I would be at the end, when you realize Walter's not going to stay and hang out and party with everyone?
Oh,
It would be awkward 100%. If the person that I didn't know, like, left, I would be like, okay, so then I would find my way to navigate who I can like hang out with. And
I'm the opposite of you guys, because I've gone on like Mexican vacations, I've gone camping, I've gone to music festivals. It's like a 3-day.
Hey, Jack, we need to go hang out then, because I think we get along. Like, who cares?
With like people I didn't know. Like, I only
that
knew,
energy.
like, I would only know one dude.
I'm with Michelle.
Like, I would only know one dude, and then I'd go, and then I'd be like, no, as long as I got a couple beers in me, I can get along with anybody. Which kind of like, I want to ask you guys, like, honestly, the way this whole lake house works, and I forget if they go over it in issue 1, or I know it's pretty early on, Les. I don't think I'm giving away too much, but the way this whole like house works and everything they have, and like how they can get what they need, to me almost seems like a wish fulfillment kind of thing to me. I'm like, dude, this would not be bad at all. Like, I could probably live years and years here. Like, it seems awesome.
I would totally stay in the denial mode and just live it up for a little bit before it really sunk in. Like, I would just milk it for everything that it is. Then be like, oh shit, the world's on fire.
Well, that's what I talked about.
While you're drinking your champagne and shit, you're all like, oh yeah, my mom died in like a bloody situation. Like, it's cool though. I'll just order some Hello Kitty stuff and it'll be fine. Like, that's how.
Until you learn the Hello Kitty shop was blowing up.
Yeah.
I would do the opposite. I think I would have to like break down first and grieve the reality of I just lost all these people I love, and then I'd be like, when you finally accept and know you can do nothing about it, I'm going to be like, okay, this is my current family, this is my support. Let's hang.
Yeah, I think you would go into like survival mode though. I don't think it.
you can't just grieve forever. You know what I mean? At some point, you might as well live life. So I think I would start in a sad place and then work into, all right, let's just party till we're dead. Because I mean, what other choice you got?
Well, and also a beautiful thing about this comic is that it makes us think. It makes us think about what we would do. It's so relatable. It's so real. And like, we could all sit here and say how we think we would be in that moment, but it could be the total opposite if we're just picked up and dropped into this scenario. But the way that it's written and the way that it's just structured, it's like this shit could really happen. And you could really imagine, like, what would you do? And I feel like that's great writing. That's a great comic. If you can really be immersed in the story and believe that it could happen to you tomorrow. And it's just really cool. So
And they all willingly went too. Like when you think about it, it's like it's not like they were like forced into this kind of
like kidnapped or anything. Yeah.
Well, let's look at that real quick, because look at the email that first came in. The first thing he opens up with is, "Hello, all you beautiful monsters." Like, if you don't know somebody, you're not going to get an email like this. So they know this dude. They've been intimate in their life. They're friends. They've laughed together. There's been things in that, and like he even states it's been a busy few years, and we've spread ourselves thin around the country and abroad. It's not easy to meet up for drinks as it used to be. So definitely drinking buddies and people that used to go out and hang. So they've got that connection for sure.
And even the ones that don't know each other that well, he's subliminally connecting them by calling them all beautiful monsters and almost grouping them together. And it's kind of like a joking, loving kind of thing to say to them. So they almost like immediately, without like even like meeting or seeing each other, they have this kind of
unity,
connection to each other.
That's something I first thought when I first read this very first issue, though. I thought everybody knew each other. I thought they were all connected back, like, I don't know, college friends or something.
Yeah, I did get that feeling from the first issue too.
But then obviously afto that, like after the first issue, it started.
Well, let's get into that, because you're bringing up a good point that I think goes into as we start getting introduced. And the only thing else I want to point out on that first email is you can kind of get a touch of the reality of, like, again, modern times, recent times with, we're not taking submissions right now, where life has kind of slowed down into a lull of disconnection. And then at the bottom of this email, he just gives them just a tease of this place, because he's like, it's too great. You're not even going to believe it. Whatever. Here's just enough to pique your interest,
And also really fast, I like how he's like, he tells them, I know you guys don't have other plans because I've been mysteriously texting you. So
don't try to lie to me. I know.
So knock it off.
Straight up called everyone out. Like, y'all don't have anything else going on this week, so you better be there.
Now,
I mean, you had me at the Frank Lloyd Wright looking house, like that architecture.
Yes.
Dude, I'm there. Like,
I know.
Now, this book to me really is trying to really set the stage of these characters, and I think it was done well, but also enough where he gives you a lot of information, but he also doesn't, to where it's just enough to be like, what is the intention here? What is the point and how this is being presented to me? We see their symbols, we see their names, we get ages, even where he talks about the clusters. There's a high school cluster, a college cluster, a New York cluster. We get their ages, and we get some of the connections, right? So I think that was really interesting. And that's what I loved when I reread this one, is it was a little easier for me to piece them together, because it was almost too much to chew at first, because I was like, I don't even know who the comedian is yet, when he's like, hey, this was a friend of the comedian's then girlfriend. And I'm like, who's the comedian? So going back after I've read and been introduced to all of them, it was easier to start like putting the map together, at least for me.
Okay. Yeah.
now, real quick, Laz, on, I don't know if you have the image here, but where she's on that other slide right there, just kind of smoking a cigarette, giving some information. There's a panel that I laughed hilariously, because I just thought about me and what I would be doing. Like, she's there kind of checking, I mean, I don't know if it was her, but when they were checking the temperature with the gauge on the head.
Yeah.
She's smoking a cigarette. She has that thermometer in her hand, turns it to the cigarette and starts like checking the temperature on the cigarette. Like, that's something I would totally do. Just bored standing outside.
I didn't
like,
even notice that.
Yeah, it's right down below that one.
Right.
And I just, dude, when I saw that, I just started laughing internally, because I was like, that's totally something I do. I want to see what the temperature is.
Yeah.
Oh. Like, it's just,
Wow. I thought she was
that's
lighting
pretty
up a
clever.
cigarette.
has that realism to it, you know, that
Right?
like
Right.
subtle
Mhm.
realism without having to like hit you over the head with it. Just very
Mhm.
natural. 'Cause
Right.
I mean, I've read even like not even comic books, novels where I'm liking the novel, except for when it gets to the dialogue of the people, it's so fakey, and it seems like it's just the writer talking to himself. He's not good at making it sound like two different people, and he really does get really good personalities out of these people without it feeling like it's all written by the same dude.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because even looking at it right now, I feel that like even the comedian, he's like got this high energy and everything, like, and you seem to like change it in your mind as you're reading it and stuff for each character, and I think they did well on that one. So
I also, going back to Jack, where you were talking about almost like zoo animals and picking your favorites. Even when I first read New York Cluster, High School Cluster, it feels like a science experiment or research or something, you know,
Right.
like it doesn't give the same casual vibe of, hey, friends, let's hang out at a lake house. It immediately feels like there's something bigger at play. At least
Yeah, that's
to
why I
me.
can't wait to talk to you about when you like read up to like at least issue 6 or something.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
pick up 7 and 8 because I have some pretty wild theories that I can't get into without really giving away.
Right.
You're like,
Real
hurry
quick
up.
side note though, like discussing about like would you go to this lake house or not, then I really just started thinking like I think a lot of people in our day and age we've all grown up with like the real world MTV, these reality shows where
Yeah.
I'm gonna go live in a house with a bunch of random people and cause drama and be on
Mhm.
TV. This is exactly what it is. So
Yeah.
it is one of those weird things that like we're gonna say no, we're not gonna do it unless there's money or television involved, and it's okay. You know, it's one of those kind of twisted like
Makes me think of
reality
Mojo
TV
World.
type situations.
And that's a good point, relating it to like MTV shows, because we all kind of grew up watching that where, you know, this happened. So it kind of feels like almost nostalgic or another like a real life situation because we're so used to seeing this happen, even people that don't know each other, you know. And also, like Last said, the way that these characters are introduced, it's almost like a case file or something.
Yes.
You know,
Right.
somebody's
Yeah.
outside looking in, like very, you know, these are the facts, you know, not
Or
like
do you
these are my
remember MTV The Real World? Like introducing Puck, they would do this little thing on the side. This is him, and this is where he's from, and that's exactly what we see here. The
you're
comedian, this is,
Mhm.
and
That's a really good
that's what we got.
observation. Yeah.
Now,
This is a reality
Phil
show
was
for
asking
aliens.
how many issues is it
Right,
slated for?
exactly, Jack.
Is it just 12?
It's
I
12
believe
right now, but there
it's 12.
is rumors that maybe there's more. I don't know how accurate those rumors are that I've been hearing, but right now I've got my Lunar Distribution website open right now for my future orders, and currently we've got 12 slotted, and I've only got images up to looks like issue 10 right now that are actually able to concur. And issue 9 looks awesome.
Oh,
Well,
can
I'm
I
glad he's
also
got
point
12.
out a specific wording? Because I do think details matter with this story already. Like I said, I think the cluster was a choice very specifically, but I also love that it says chosen over and over. You know, like they were
Right.
specially selected. So I love that it's like chosen in New York 4 years ago, and everybody has their time frame and their place where they were chosen. So you really do get this special favoritism selection process, and it is interesting. I also love that he makes them all, there's so many different personalities like Jack mentioned, because this cracked me up, guys. I love this. But literally, I'm just going to read this. It says, I was looking for a TV downstairs and I found an effing movie theater. The seats are all heated with built-in massagers. If you leave me alone in there, I think I'm going to have a continuous orgasm until they drag me away. Sticky and horrible. I think this is heaven.
Is that foreshadowing?
It is so funny to me, you know, and even our writer makes a comment on that, like, yeah, if I can get some good, you know, butt massages, you know, why not, you know, so like a good way to spend time. But it is interesting where they're already like, yeah, I agree. There's some foreshadowing there, but I like the quirkiness. I like the realness because there's always this person in a group too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of
and going to your point about the word cluster and chosen.
Yes.
You know, when I think of cluster, I think, you know, my anatomy class and stuff, and clusters of like, you know, cancer in this population over here and this.
Yeah.
And it makes me think like, is there more nice house on a lake throughout the world? You know, is
Right.
it more than
Yeah.
just
Dun,
one
dun,
group?
I feel like
dun.
there's like
Yeah.
a bigger twist going to happen. Like stuff that you guys are saying makes me feel like there's a bigger twist than what we think is going to happen.
Yeah,
Like,
is there more than one
like
Walter out there?
Yeah, there
Yeah.
could be
Right.
like
I can-
45
right.
walls, all
Yeah.
different groups.
And they're all
Yeah.
it's like a
competing to figure
Twilight
something
Zone
out.
kind of thing. Twilight Zone. It reminds me of a Twilight Zone episode. or
Yeah,
something
it
like
does.
that.
You're so cute when you say Twilight Zone.
What is
Well,
up, Psycho
clearly this
Pirate?
process, hi Psycho Pirate, this process has been, I mean, this isn't just a recent thing. I mean, this has been going on for years and years. I mean, Walter or they or whoever's behind all this has known this was going to go down. So they've been preparing secretly and slowly over time, and it's really creepy and interesting, and I love it.
Yeah, that's why it makes me feel. That's why I got that feeling almost like right away, like by issue 2, that this is like Walter's job, and this is like something that
Yeah.
he's been doing for a long time, and
He's got his own lab for his experiment.
yeah, you
Right.
just get that
Yeah.
feeling right away for me, anyway.
Yeah.
And like now it's finally coming to fruition. All the hard work. It's like the people are here. Like this is going down. Like and now they can observe and see how people will act. You know how they're going to get along, how they're going to behave.
And I love that he really did, though, make sure, even if they weren't the closest relationship, everyone is very much connected in some way. No one is a total stranger. Like it mentions here with Molly, it says he met her with her best friend, the scientist. Then the scientist was connected to the writer, her then boyfriend. So they're drawing all these connections. So we know that they were all part of like a bubble to some extent, even if it spanned years and random moments in time. You know what I mean? But there's still like a bubble. There's a sense of community here, which I feel like is probably important to whatever he may be doing with these people, whatever.
And did
he
you
shows
notice
them.
the connection? Well, not connection, but did you notice the scientist was the first one where there was highlighted red? Of
Yes.
I was gonna
pink
say
after.
that.
I was about to bring that
Yes,
up.
right. Him and the consultant, I think it was,
Yes.
that it had to do with like federal or
Some
government
level of power,
background.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Sheena and Frank, to me makes me wonder if, even though he met some of these people in high school, if for some reason Walter has foresight into the future, knowing maybe they are in positions of power at some point, because that red lettering makes me feel like it matters that they have certain connections or certain knowledge.
Or
skills.
he set things in
government
place
link,
to get
yep.
them into that position.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he pulls the
either
strings.
way, that
Yeah.
there was some type of reasoning that these people, because again, there are only the two, if I remember right, that have that red lettering.
Right.
And it's not just
Yeah,
any government
NASA.
entity; it's NASA. You know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the
Right.
other one is the Democratic National Committee. So it's like, okay, that's a little bit of a foreshadowing almost that
Yeah.
those two
They're
organizations
consultants.
have something to do with what's going down in the world,
Mhm.
right? I don't know.
DNC is involved with aliens somehow. Is that what we're saying?
There you
And
go.
NASA, and NASA,
Yes.
I mean, right?
Yes. And then it connects to the Department of Truth. It's a Department
Right.
of Truth.
And don't they mention
Oh my
lizard
god,
people?
don't say that, cute.
Don't they mention
I
lizard
think that
people in the
there's
book?
a little tie-in. I don't know if it's this issue, but there's like a very, very subtle nod to Department of Truth in one of the early issues, I believe. So
Nice.
I would
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
Now, with this page, this is the one I was talking about earlier where it mentions the painter, but we're not introduced to a painter in this issue at all. So to me, I'm like, I feel like that was an intended character that didn't make it. But again, I haven't read ahead, but I thought that was interesting because I'm not going to lie, I didn't catch that the first time I read through it. It was the second time that I was like, wait a minute, that is not somebody at the house right now. So I thought that
I'm
was
like
an
jumping out of
interesting
my
drop.
seat. Oh my
I
God.
know.
Let's please read the
Okay,
this
we gotta
weekend.
move on
Please read
from
the
this
whole
point.
thing.
I will. I promise.
We're all gonna
I've
freak
literally
out.
been waiting. I have been waiting just for this. Okay, it's happening. But I love that because I'm like, look at his little teasers. That's why I'm saying this really is like comic blue balls because he drops just enough to get you excited, and then he's like, "Ha ha! You got to keep reading."
Well, that's the funny
Right.
thing because when you said that, when I first read that, I got way confused. I remember first reading this book, and then like, did they make an error? Did the editor make an error and not put the artist in there, or are they
Why'd they say
spinning with
painter?
us? Or like you said, was the painter supposed to be the artist, but then something happened.
And it was one of the
Artist.
people that he references to not deciding to come that will regret it, right?
And that to
Yeah.
me also was the fun part about like reading the single issue when it first came out and waiting like a month for the
Yes.
next one, because it gave me time to process and think through that. Like, what the heck? But
Well, yeah, because you
I'm
get
still,
to play
I'm still
with
with Q. You need to read ahead
because
because
in your head before you know the next step. So it gives you some room to play and think and imagine, which is fun. And that's a part of stories like this that I think are intriguing, because again, it's like, okay, it's getting me thinking. And I think some people want books that do make them think. You know what I mean? We get to try to put a puzzle
I do.
together, and we're just waiting to find
Right.
the next piece, you know?
Right. Like the symbols that they leave
Yeah.
like all over the property. It's like they're connectors somehow. You just don't know. But they mean something because they keep showing the symbols. So they definitely like mean something along the lines eventually.
On
Because
this
even the
page,
first-
one thing I liked about this, by the way, is we're getting more insight to where y'all were talking about how our artist, everyone's kind of like, why is this person special? Why does this one get this special placement? Because they're kind of like, were they even that close? We don't think they even talk. So it seems like everyone else feels they almost have more ownership or rights to Walter than her coming in. And you're definitely getting a taste of that now with like 2 different pages, actually, because even the prior page also has this, why is this the person that came?
keeping it with this book in this issue, you know, reading through, I was under the impression that I think she was the only one Walter was actually sexually intimate with.
Yeah,
I
same
think
here.
that has a deeper connection. That's why they're all like, "Oh, why was she here?" And didn't they have this weird? Because you know, you bring in sex into it, and it changes the dynamic of the relationship in people's minds.
What's up,
I think
Roscoe?
that was part of it. When,
And that could be why they go so long without really talking or communicating too. Like the
Okay,
same way
now,
you would with an ex that you're still
hold
friends
up.
with, but
Am
you
I
don't talk every day.
totally random? Because to me, I got the feeling like she thought he wanted to be intimate, but I didn't get the feeling they actually ever were actually intimate sexually. So, like, did I overlook that? Because
No,
I
that
thought
could
it
be
was
true
more.
too. And
I mean,
it
that
hurt
could
her
be true,
feelings,
but
right?
I got the innuendo that they definitely hooked up, and then
See, I feel like
Indeed.
it was one of those where you have those where the tension's there and you feel like it's going to happen at some point, but they're just dancing around it. Like that was the feeling I got. But again, I could very much be wrong on that. But I thought it was more like this weird dance of, is it going to happen? Is it not? Because she was kind of doing her own thing. He was still pulling her back in randomly. But it seems like it stayed more emotionally and verbally intimate, but didn't quite get there sexually. At least that's how I viewed it.
I mean, it could be either way, or it could have been like, you know, super awkward because he's, you know, who knows what Walter really is, you know, and it could have put a little separation between them. I don't know. They do seem to me like they're exes though.
Yeah, there's something different for sure. I agree with that. I also, this page cracked me up. I like with the pianist where he says, he's asking him like, what's your mutant name? As he's picking on all the code names that Walter has given them, you know, that he just thinks is kind of, I don't know, funny, odd, interesting.
No, yeah, I agree with you there.
All right.
And it also like, and also like the comedian, you know, famous member of another superhero team, you know, so it could be kind of alluding to that, maybe just a nod to comics in general.
Oh yeah, I feel like it is. I feel like it is a little nod to something for sure. And then of course, guys, we finally have Walter show up at the house with sausages around his neck, and this boy is ready to have a party.
He's ready to grill. He is ready to grill.
I love. I'm just gonna say I love this panel just because it looks like he's the dude that like you've known for 20 years of your life, and you're just seeing him again, even though it's all awkward because nobody else really knows each other. But that's him, and he's like he's got all the food, and we're ready to, like you said, we're ready to grill. Let's do this.
It's got dad energy.
He has those glasses,
right?
the glasses that have been, you know, since the beginning, like those creepy glasses, you know.
Oh, those one-way mirror glasses reflecting.
Yeah, where you can't get that good eye
Yeah, you
contact.
think that's done on purpose? So like really,
Like
you
ever
don't see his
since
eyes.
the beginning there, you know, like those. Yeah.
Ooh, hold on, hold up.
Well, after reading the new Sandman universe, Nightmare Country, like I don't want him to take off his glasses.
That part.
Yeah,
it's
there's
almost
Sounds
like
right.
whatever Walter is, they can't get the
mysteriousness.
eyes just right, so he's got to wear them glasses all the time.
Hopefully they're not teeth.
Oh my god, that'd be so cool.
Teeth. But yeah, I mean, the eyes are probably the hardest thing for another species or being to like recreate and make feel and look
Yeah.
real. So
That human
That's a
element.
good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
Through the window to
the
the soul,
the
right?
window to the. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about that? How about that background? I love the way those brush strokes look like that.
Me
I don't know,
too.
just
Mhm.
appreciating the art there looks really nice. I
Oh,
like
it's
the mixed
beautiful.
medium.
It looks like a
I
painting
love
behind
it.
him,
Yeah,
a giant one.
abstract.
No, my favorite type of artwork is like impressionism, like Van Gogh's kind of stuff, and this
Yeah.
screams it through the entire book.
I love this style. Alvaro Martinez Bueno. Yeah, kills it. I love him.
I
And
like
I
this
agree.
because
He's
he's supposed
probably
to
got
looking
dad
like,
vibes, you know?
yeah, he's supposed
Yeah, I
to be
think
looking
purposely.
disarming, like yeah, on purpose. He looks like somebody that
Trustworthy.
wouldn't hurt you. Yeah, trustworthy.
Almost like all of their
Yeah.
fathers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Totally.
maybe.
Well,
Well,
it
hopefully
reminds me
not
of
in
some
the
of my
whole like,
cousins.
you know, sexual tension vibe relationship, but yes.
She
Or
said
maybe
her
not.
daddy.
Okay. Now we know, okay? Who
Her
knows?
daddy, yeah, her daddy.
Daddy issues, looking for Poppy, you know.
But it's like, yeah, they get this like sense of calm. It's like, oh, okay, Walter's here. Like, yes,
Right.
you know, like, you know, this is
Very
our
disarming.
person, and he's here with steaks with a grill, and like we can chill now.
Yeah.
But dun dun
The
dun.
calm.
He would never blow up the world. He would never do anything like that. You know?
Now the
Calm
next
before the
two
storm.
The next two things that I left out that we can kind of talk on was the second email that no one had the signal, right? No one had their Wi-Fi. People weren't being able to pull stuff up other than our artist, which is our first character. And this is where we get to hear the second email of people choosing not to come. And this is also where we see their first hangout, where it looks like it's kind of getting late. Everybody, you're not even seeing words at this point. It's just scribbles and the occasional one-word line. And people are literally just existing, having a beer, chilling. So where are your thoughts at this point in the story? Like I said, we get our second email. We get the idea of people having their labels, their rooms, their roommates. Like, where were your heads at this point?
Can we show the splash page? Because that's one of my
Yes,
favorite
yes, yes, yes.
artistically in the issue is this splash page with the pool and like the blue and the yellow.
Yeah, it's
I
beautiful.
just love that.
And if you'll move in a little bit where you see like the squiggles where it's not really like even full writing, you know, like it's just, we know that there are a lot of casual conversations going on.
Yeah. Now that was one aspect of this splash page that I loved, is that casual conversation. You didn't actually write it, just, oh, let me just scribble, and you know there's something going on. People are, but I hated it at the same
a
time.
vibe.
This is where I got my anxiety in this book. I'm like, dude, you guys know there's something happening. There's something
cute.
going on.
Right.
You guys are just like
Yep.
chilling in a pool, hanging out, just like, I'm like, dude, you got to be more aware. Like, I'm just a paranoid person. Maybe. I don't know, but I'm just like, past is, you need to be vigilant. Something's about to go down, and then it shows towards the end. But yeah, that's where my anxiety started coming up.
Yeah, that was
Well,
the only
and I
kind of
think
unrealistic
that-
part there for me was like,
Go ahead.
look, yeah, this is great. This is perfect. This is awesome. If we were all on a vacation, this is exactly what I'd be doing. But as soon as you figure out that there's something really crazy going on, I'd be freaking out, dude. Like, I would not be able to calm down until I could find some answers. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd be like, dude, there's something
Right.
really messed up going on, and we got to get to the bottom of it. Unless you guys are in on it too, you know?
Right? Oh, I would be on 100% like defense. Like, my brain would be working overtime. I'm the guy that can't go into a restaurant unless I'm sitting in a corner or booth.
Okay.
See, I thought one thing that I think is cool is I feel like our artist was kind of that same personality of needed knowledge, needed more of that kind of like overall surrounding and vibe of what is happening, because that was the only person that chose to separate from the group, get out of the personal pleasure vibe, the immediate pleasure vibe, and try to reconnect with the outside world, society, friends, family, you know, like social media check-in, you know what I mean? News check-in. And of course, you know, that's where she discovers some devastating news. But I do think that was an interesting dynamic, that she is, again, continuously singled out in some way in her personality, right? She's singled out with Walter, and their relationship is different. But she's also the one that really had to unplug, you know, even during this casual, chill hanging out where it's like, why aren't you going and having a beer and talking to people, you know?
No doubt.
All right. So after, let me pull it up here. This is just, I just did a little snippet to kind of show we go into all of these stories because again, she goes off, she's by herself, she's reading all these things, all these stories, and it's like news and Twitter, etc. And we just see the world on fire, which is like, what? Where was your head at this point,
Wow.
Frank?
Dude, it was like I said when we first started talking, this is exactly what we did when the pandemic hit us. You know,
Yep.
like you turn to Twitter and you start like, look at this, and where it says, never seen these colors like this. Oh my gosh. And, you know, fuck me, Frankenstein. What the fuck is this real? And we don't know what's real, what's not real. And everything's just coming out quickly.
Right.
And this whole panel, and I mean, not just panel, but like this whole essential page and splash page, the entire thing was just what we do in our everyday life already.
Yeah.
We
Doom
look at
scrolling.
social media, we look at the newses, we're scrolling through things, we're like, you know, in this panic, yet some are making like very crude jokes about it, and we're just like, whatever, and who cares? And some are like going this crazy like conspiracy theory type, and it gets everywhere, and that's our society now. And I feel
Yeah,
like
that's how
this
people
kind of
are.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like this kind of pokes fun at it a little bit. Say, dude, you guys need to calm down on some of this. Like,
Yeah, it's like that
that
meme
is
where
high
there
enough.
could be like an asteroid, you know, about a mile away from the Earth that's going to wipe us all out, and somebody will make a meme right at the very last minute to put on
Yeah.
Twitter, right? That's just the way people are.
100%. Like, which I
Legit,
mean, I
yeah.
do. People go back and forth. We all deal with certain circumstances, like in the negative, like certain things that happen in life badly. We all deal with the difference. Some laugh. Not to be a downer, but my father just passed away in the last week or so, and I went back to his funeral this last weekend. And I saw every dynamic in my friends and family group this week.
Yes.
Like some that just were so overburdened, crying hysterically. Some that were like just making joke after joke after joke. Some that were like essentially they were creating their own personal meme in their own self. So we all do this and we all cope in our different ways. And this shows, like I'll show it because she only did a couple,
Such
but there's
diversity, yeah.
so many here, and they're all kind of related to the different aspects of how, you know, the last one I think was kind of funny because they're like fuck 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 fuck, and then there's one over here that's like, don't pop the boils, it just makes it worse. Like there's, you know, it's just random things, and we all go through and process this in our own ways, you know. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I
Definitely.
remember when like the news started coming out about this pandemic, COVID, and I had some friends that legitimately freaked out, calling me like, dude, the world's ending kind of thing. You know, so I think everybody, this just shows today's time, and like kind of goes down.
Well, right when that
Cool.
pandemic started, like I didn't exactly freak like the world's ending, but I remember the very first day they started showing that crazy stuff in China and how fast that those Chinese were going to build hospitals and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, this is serious. And I remember going to my parents' house with masks and stuff, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, dude, relax. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, you wear these masks before anybody else does, because this is nuts. What's happening, like the death rate and all that stuff, like the Chinese are super freaked out about this, and they're trying to hide something, and that freaks me out. And then, I mean, even if you look at this bottom right, where this one says this is all fake, that's another thing people did, right? They had that initial reaction first, and I don't blame them because it's like, dude, relax, you know, whatever. This is just some BS. This is fake. But yeah, like I didn't exactly freak out, but I did react in that way at first, kind of like how some of these people are. And my parents were more on the side of like, relax, this is fake. You're freaking out. You're watching too much news. You're scrolling through Twitter too much. I'm like, all right. And then like a month later, they're double masking, right?
Well, see, I love this section because Jack, it speaks to where you talked about how this writer can get such diversity and personality, because as you read all these, like I said, I just got a little snippet of it, but as you read these, there's so many different diverse reactions, everywhere from disbelief to, oh my God, what am I going to do? Freaking about other people, freaking out on a selfish note for some sharing things that almost seems like the attention grabbing of like, hey, here's this intimate person in my life with their eyes exploding. Let me share that image, you know, like what? You know what I mean? But it's like so how people are, right? Like this is just so real and relatable, which I think this writer just is really good at, you know, tying in reality. Did great.
I agree. Yeah. And I feel like to include tweets or whatever type of social media this is supposed to be in a comic, it has to be done well. Otherwise,
Agreed.
it's going to seem like annoying or cheesy. But this was
Lame.
really well done, I think, and I really appreciated it. And it really helped with that relatable factor of the
Agreed.
story. And yeah, like, these are tweets you would have seen that we have seen, like you guys said, you know,
Versions of,
spanning the range of all the different types of people out there. And it's like, okay, this is the part of the issue where it gets real. It gets real. I don't know if you have a screenshot of the emergency broadcast system last, but yeah, there we go. That, I mean, that's just like, oh my God, like you can picture yourself being there. You know, you got the
like I could see it happening. Yeah.
I mean, it's happening. And I'm surprised though at this point, like they're still able to get these, they're able to get the internet where they are, right? But I mean, maybe Walter designed it that way so that the intensity of what was happening could reach them, you know, instead of them just being in the dark and not being able to connect. But I don't know.
And going back real quick with something you just said, Michelle, integrating social media into anything, whether we're watching it on a TV show or we're watching it or reading in a comic, what they did great here is they didn't give this a name. They didn't like call it Twitter, but call it something like Twitter, like Twitter. You know,
right?
Yeah, you get that in like I think they did that in like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that, and it just was so cheesy. I'm like, you don't have to like just don't name it, just show it. We all understand what it's gonna be, and
we know what it is.
Incorporate it, so.
Also, I wonder if like in 10, 20 years from now, something like this will be looked at as like a post-pandemic piece, kind of like in the same way Akira is looked at like something that only could have came out after, you know, they dropped those atomic bombs in Japan. And like if that never happened, maybe something like Akira would have never happened, because this does seem like it's very influenced, at least this part, by the pandemic that happened. And I wonder if this book would even came out if we didn't go through this.
Well,
and
here's the thing.
When did he start writing it too? You know, that has to.
Well, he did say that this is a reflection because of this stuff. Like if you listen to him talk on this book, like it was very much directly an impact of society and his own personal feelings and experience through this time the last few years. Yeah. So it is very directly created due to what has happened. You know what I mean?
He came out and was saying it was influenced that, but it does make me think of Scott Snyder and Undiscovered Country. I don't know if you guys read Undiscovered Country, but if you haven't, you need to. At least I love it. But the first arc of that came out about a year prior to the pandemic. But holy crap, did it foreshadow the pandemic? I mean, it was this weird, like eerie. I got goosebumps after I was like, dude, we're going through this right now. Yet we have this dude that just wrote this story essentially about a pandemic hitting the world. And at the time when I was reading it and going through it, you know, it was the time when, you know, the United States just shut down its borders. We weren't allowing people to come in or go out. And in the book, that's what they did a year prior. They had to block it off, and America turned into its own. And I was like, oh my God, did they know something I didn't?
You're making me think of South Park and all of its random foreshadowing.
Right? But Undiscovered Country is a lot more deep.
Knew. Dun, dun, dun.
Like the
but yeah, it's crazy. So, but yeah, with this, I do know he has said that this the pandemic essentially helped inspire. Now, I'm sure he already had a story in his mind about something like this, but he utilized, and this was like one of those like, yeah, he was like, this is perfect timing to put out the story I've already been thinking about.
This type of story, this possible. Yeah, no, I agree. One thing that I did not include is, you know, because in between like all the tweets and news stuff and this emergency broadcast is basically where the artist is like, everyone needs to freaking stop. Like something is wrong. Things are going bad. And we see the beginning of panic and confusion because no one else knows anything's happening. They're all still chilling, hanging out, drinking a beer. And then the artist starts freaking out. And this is where now they're going inside because she's like, people are burning alive. Like something is wrong. Right.
Quick comic change too. If you guys, I'm sure most of you noticed, but like, so right here in this panel, all these panels, the colors, you know, as we saw throughout the whole book, and then boom, we get here for the next couple pages. They're like this deep gray blue, like you know the mood has changed. You know we're like into more serious, kind of like mentality. And I love when creators get together in a book like that and start adapting the color change to set your mood into what you're about to get into.
Yes, if something big is coming. So I totally agree. I think that was really nice. That's why I'm saying, like, because even this, after all the fire is again a total mood shift.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys
that was
brought
a good
that up.
creative decision.
Yes, like the tones and the colors and how they change throughout this issue and beyond, it really adds to the story. And it makes me love the art even more. Because
Yes.
not only is it great art with a very unique style, but the tonal shifts are like so on point, and it really adds to the mood and just the change in the story, how it's getting crazy. And I just love it. I think it's just really well done.
Yeah, that's really good to point out, especially that those panels that you showed where it's all just basically kind of blue, gray, and black and white. It does really convey that kind of like that emptiness you feel in your gut when something really bad happens, or something's going to get worse.
Right.
That's a really subtle way. Well, I don't know if subtle is the right way, but it's without having to tell you,
don't have to
they're
just
basically
say it.
they're showing you it. It's awesome.
And it's interesting because they did work with the color on that aspect, exactly what you're saying, Jack, because they could have chose red, they could have chose purple, but no, they went with this like light blue, gray, like moody, like, oh crap, man, I feel like this
conveys
thing in the
dread.
pit of my stomach. And yeah.
That's funny. By the way, comment if y'all haven't read this comment, please do.
Right. That's gonna be in my story next.
Write it.
Right.
You can warn people of the future. Toilet paper, extra, or a bidet. Get on it.
The man with the
I
most
do
wet
love
wipes
this
is the
because
richest man on earth.
immediately this goes back to that dynamic of, do we seek pleasure or do we try to fight something bad happening, right? Because now everybody's like trying to, one, just accept that something's even wrong or happening. They're confused. How bad? How far out is this? Is this only one area? Is this global? And again, they're trying to figure out, what do we need to do? Do we team up and go see if we can save friends, family? So at this point, they're potentially leaving, right? Like they're setting up to at least go out of the house to try to get signal or connect with people beyond this moment.
Yeah.
Okay, now guys, I had to throw this slide in here, okay? I absolutely love when we start getting all this like otherworldly weirdness. Michelle, I think you're pulling up a good page. It looks like it there.
Oh, I just wanted to look at it and
I adore this section because this is where, right before this moment, they've checked the broadcast. They're about to kind of like go out to maybe see if they can get signal or do something. And Walter reveals to them this reality of like, I'm not going to explain what I am. Just know that I am the man you love that loves you. And I'm sorry, everyone's either dead or going to be dead. And y'all can never leave this house. Right. So panic and potential reality of y'all better accept this because this is it. So that tough love, ripping off the Band-Aid. Sorry, guys, sucks, but love you. There's plenty of beer and food.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the vibe. Like, don't worry about it. I got you covered. I got all you could ever need. Just be here, live in peace because I have picked you, right? Like it's supposed to be just like so chill.
Which is absolutely terrifying. That scenario to me, like I don't care, like the fact that you're nice and like, okay, this is all cool and everything, but that is terrifying. Like,
I would like, I'm sorry, y'all can't leave.
Ever. And I like that he says, I'll be back every now and then to toast to the old world. It's like, oh, okay.
And then you contemplate like you're like
to be pulled out and played with, like not even like a person at that point.
And
but it's also like you get that sense of like, hold up a second, did he just save my life? Because I could be now dead.
And that's
so
the
like
thing.
thanks.
We're left at the end
you?
wondering, did he just save our asses, or is this like something really sinister? You can't
real
tell.
quick, like because you brought up that one of her and blood and all that. So when I first read this and first glanced at it, I thought her hand was ripped off. And then it took me a minute. And I was like, wait a second. So then I started looking into the art more. And before that happened, like she looks at her hand and she's like, whoa, my own hand went like all weird and crazy. So it shows like this crazy third dimensional type aspect that he's living in some other metaphysics type realm, and it can affect you if you touch him or you get him part of that.
Or he can just control the world in a different way, because like he does that to avoid, because at that point our writer goes to attack him, either knock him out, kill him, whatever the full intention was, right? And all of a sudden Walter's head does that weird, like, okay, otherworldly, this is not human moment, where you immediately see the like reactions of holy crud just in that, but also, like you said, all of a sudden, just like his head did, her arms start separating and then just like blows off. And then, of course, we end the comic with just everybody totally wigged out. Like that's where they leave us, where her arm just like oddly exploded off of her body without him even touching her. And we're just...
I love how it gets increasingly like a wider angle, but also smaller panel.
Yeah,
like those boom, boom, boom.
You would expect it to go the other way, but they do it to where it like shrinks but big. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like opposite. I really dig it.
I remember like when I first finished this comic and I got to the end of it, there was a part of me that was so excited because I felt like Tinian did this thing where he gave, like, I hate those like really big cliffhangers. It's like, oh man, now we gotta, like, this was a cliffhanger for sure. It made me want the next, but it gave me a lot in this first issue, and it wrapped it up to where like they could have ended it at the emergency broadcast system kind of situation, right? But no, they went to the next extreme and actually showed us a lot of the stuff that some probably would have waited till the next. And I love that he did with this. If he didn't, I probably would have been pissed and didn't pick up the second one. But this ended it just like that shock value. I got enough of what I needed, and I still wanted more.
Comic blue balls.
I wanted to say in the beginning, is that a lot of stories, I feel like they work better in trade format because it feels like one cohesive story across 6 issues. But this, I'm not doubting that it's amazing in trade format, but it works really well in single issues because there's so much to digest and to think about. Like, you can go and reread this 2 or 3 times and pick up something new each time, and like, it just gives you so much to like marinate on before the next issue. So I think it works really well either way.
Well, kind of like
I love
a TV
that you
show,
said that, Michelle, because like with comic books for me, because I've been reading my entire life, that's something especially takes me back to my childhood, because I might only get 1 or 2 comics a month when I was a kid. It wasn't even comics at the time how I was growing up. So I would read one comic. I mean, I would read every single word front, back, and I would dive into it in my bed. I'd just be like, and I would read it 7 or 8 times.
Digest
and
it.
That's what this reminded me of, because I did. Like, when this first hit, I read this 4 or 5 different times. I knew I wouldn't get the next one for a month. So that's what I love about single issues as well. So I can see the appeal of the trade paperback for sure, because it gets that whole nitty-gritty element.
Okay, really quick, since I think we can all agree this was an epic first issue, right? Like, this really was a great story, great pull. It's interesting, it's intelligently written, it's relatable to our humanness, to our period of time in life, but it really was a great read. But I also want to brag on Coffee and a Comic as a business, and I get coffee in my orders, literally, people. So if you have never ordered, actually get coffee with your comics. Like, it's not just a gimmicky name, okay? It's legit, guys.
It's good coffee.
Well, here,
really good coffee.
You're making me blush just a little, but
I have a whole.
I don't know, because a few people say that, but I don't know if they understand like my philosophy with that, right? Like, the Coffee and a Comic isn't just a gimmick. It's my own personal touch to my comic reading. Like, I legit, if you watch my thing, every morning I have a Coffee and a Comic that I post. It's not just there for business, but it's something I did before I started the business. It's what keeps me sane. I wake up, I get my coffee, I grab my comic book that I want to read, and I bring myself back to when I was a kid and just want to chill for 20 minutes before I have to get into the real world. So I want to share that with the world. I want everybody else to get their cup of coffee or the tea or whatever it is and sit with one single issue and enjoy 20 minutes of Zen in the morning. And that's what I try to share within the business aspect too.
So. Me time,
Well, I mean, to me,
I hope that you guys enjoy it. I'm glad. Thank you.
You're bringing an experience, and you also, like I said, I love little personal touches because it makes people feel spoiled, and that somehow, again, that reality of being seen as a person, not just a consumer, because people like having something to enjoy. You're bringing a little bit of pleasure. You bring in the stickers. You have a little personal thank you note. You know, like it makes you feel like you matter to a business. It's small business love, you know, and that's a really
Well, this
cool thing
community
to
matters
have.
to me, so I want to reflect that back. That's the bottom line. This
You're
community
doing
Now,
a great job
before
of
we
it.
get off of here, I want to go around and y'all let people know what you're excited about in your business or on your channels. You know, like what do you have kind of coming up for people to be aware of? So I'm going to highlight y'all and let the people know what's coming up.
Okay, just I want to make 3 points real quick. Number one, Michelle, when are we gonna have the next Philadelphia episode? Because I'm stoked that these are coming out now. So super stoked on that one. Check out Moonlit. Also, I want to just, obviously coffeeandacomic.com, snag a few books from me, start a pull list. I would love it. Really appreciate all the help. But I have to shout out an Instagram follower and customer who is amazing, because I came home this weekend from a very crazy week that I've had with friends, family, emotional as well. But to an act of kindness, a nice little gift from a gentleman. He goes by Cody Fonseca on Instagram. He does have a YouTube channel too. I'm spacing the name of it currently, but I wanted to shout him out only because when I got back, if you can see this Punisher Mike Zeck print, which is signed, he gave that to me. And I needed to shout him out because when I got that, it made my entire life just flip upside down, and how stoked I was to have this community to help support. And that's what we're all here about. That's really what matters. I need to shout out Cody Fonseca for sure. So go follow him on Instagram for catching this.
Awesome. All right,
Yes.
Michelle.
I was like looking at my calendar because I have a few
You're like, dang it.
So it's okay. So you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at MoonlitComics. I am pretty new with posting videos. I think I have like 10 videos so far. Like Frank said, thank you for the shout out, Frank. We did a review of volumes 1, 2, and 3 of Philadelphia, which is another one of my favorite modern comic series. And to answer your question, Frank, I do plan to do a volume 4 review. I'm going to wait for the trade to come out though. But I've been reviewing the Moon Knight show weekly. So Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I reviewed the previous episode as like a recap and review. So I'll be back next Tuesday with my co-host Roger from 3 Men in a Basement and 2 new special guests. And then next week, I will also be with Sheena and Q and Inja and Nicole and Anika for our Saga show. It's been a couple months since we've been able to get together and do it. So that should be Friday the 6th. And then I'll also, wait, no, that's 2 weeks from now. And then I'll be joining Actual Dracula for his Moon Knight review. So all the Moon Knight love, but yeah, just subscribe and follow. And I have a bunch of fun stuff in the works, but for now, lots of Moon Knight. And I love doing stuff like this. So Lass, thank you for having me. And this is a great series. I hope we can do issue 2 whenever we can get together. I'd love to come back and chat about it. So
no, I really appreciate all of you. Thank you. Jack.
So what I would want you to do is go on coffeeandacomics.com and see if they have expedited shipping so you can get the rest of the 6 issues. Because I think if we talk about this again, we should definitely talk about it after reading all 6 issues. But with me, Collecting Plastic is my YouTube channel. I talk about collectibles, sometimes movies, sometimes comic books, rarely though. But yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, go check me out. I also have a Twitter and Instagram. Just type in Collecting Plastic, you'll find me. So yeah, that's about it. Nothing really, really planned. I do have an interview with Lass that I'm currently editing. So if you're a fan of Lass Ketchum, that'll be on my channel pretty soon.
Woo-hoo.
Oh yeah.
All right. And I'm just going to be chilling with y'all because I'm like, I can't just be the only face. They're going to stare at y'all too. But for me, guys, y'all know I'm weird, random, and rambling all the time. I don't have plans. It's all impulsive like me as a human being on my channel. So if you enjoy my content, hit that notification bell because it will definitely be a surprise. I do have where Collecting Plastic will be joining me again next week on Thursday. We're going to have a Funko Live with Wayne Co. and TechBot, and Jazzy is potentially joining us as well. So that's also going to be a good time to kind of hang out and talk on the other side of collecting that I enjoy. I really want to say thank you so much to y'all. Thank you to Q and Sheena. They had to go because I think we all ran longer than we knew we necessarily would, but this was so fun. There's so much to talk about with this. I enjoy all of your input. I know that sometimes it's hard for all of us to get all our thoughts in. There's so many of us and there's so many thoughts, but I loved everything y'all were able to share with me. And it even helps me digest the book even further, you know? So I love conversations like this. So thank y'all for joining me. Chat, y'all are freaking epic. I always love the chat. I think that's one of my favorite thing about lives is getting that extra love, that extra input, because they really do add an extra element. So I appreciate it so much. What is up, Johnny Funko? But anyway, guys, I hope we can get together again. Y'all go check all these people out. Like I said, it's going to be down in the description below, and we will see y'all on the next one. Bye.
Later.